In Catholic education in the Archdiocese of Canberra and Goulburn, we want every Catholic school to be profoundly great at two things: being a school and being Catholic. Parents rightly have incredibly high expectations for our schools and for the student achievement that our schools will support. We've got exactly the right teachers, school leaders, principals and staff to be one of the best education systems in Australia, if not the world. Catalyst has two bold goals. Our first goal is to ensure that every child is a competent reader, because we know that early literacy is so critical. Our second bold goal is that high impact teaching practice is visible in every classroom, and that we can see that and the students experience it every day.
Next one is energetic. What word? Energetic.
I think that having the evidence of the science of learning is something that can't necessarily be questioned. We know that it's going to work. We know that it's something that's needed. So I think basing all the decisions we're making on the science of learning, but then finding ways to bring the staff together as a collective to work on the journey together has been really successful.
What we're seeing with the academic outcomes and their confidence in particular is the fact that they know that they can do more. Their results are going up. We're seeing in their spelling, in their reading, what they are able to read, what they are able to talk about in their reading. Their vocabulary is certainly being extended.
It looks different and sounds different but means the opposite.
Student engagement and achievement has been boosted by the fact that all students know we have a process in place to support their learning. It involves the daily review, looking at the structures of our classrooms, and all students have that solid understanding that their learning is important, that the teachers value their learning, and we're using the data to inform that learning and keeping track of where our students are going. And they know that, they can see that themselves.
Professional learning is much more strategic. Teaching practice is much more strategic. Common principles are now being applied across all disciplines. They're being reflected in assessment. Formative assessment by individual teachers has a commonality about it. So everyone is much more on the same page while still teaching very different content and very different skills. It's quite an achievement and a real tribute to Catalyst.
When I first arrived as Director of Catholic Education in Canberra-Goulburn, I spent a lot of time talking to teachers, principals, visiting schools, talking to parents. Everyone was dedicated to student learning, but what we were doing appeared not to be giving us the results we wanted. So that set off an intense period of reflection across the system, talking about what great learning and teaching looks like. And out of that reflection were born a couple of recognitions. The first, which was highly influential in designing Catalyst, was a recognition that the system needed to focus on the teacher as the most important learner in the system. So behind all that, the primary idea is the science of learning. A belief that there is a way in which students learn. There's a way in which brains function to acquire knowledge that can be done efficiently through great teaching.
I've seen teachers develop skill and knowledge in delivering that EI structure in a lesson. So teaching first and then having the children do some guided practice and then getting them to, or checking during that guided practice whether they understand and then addressing it if they don't, and then giving them the opportunity to show that independently. I think what's really pleasing is seeing how engaging they were. That surprised me, how quickly they took on, attention signals and pair share, checking for understanding, all of these things that keep the kids engaged. And I think that's the foremost thing when you're teaching, is having that attention and making sure that every child is actually listening and engaging in it. And the teachers have been nailing that.
I think the engagement has been so enhanced in terms of just the different strategies, and I think to start with, our secondary teachers were a little bit hesitant. They thought, I think, that it was more primary orientated. It was excellent for them to give it a go, and now the proof's in the pudding. They are using strategies like our chin boards, saying all the rhymes that go with that, and the students are responding so enthusiastically, which has gained that momentum across classes. So in many of our classes now, that's just common practice.
Combined with a strong positive behaviour culture, the pedagogy that's based on the science of learning has helped our students to be very focused and very engaged in the really key important learning times in their day. And our teachers, who are using strategies like Check for Understanding regularly, they get to examine in real time whether their students are learning that essential core skills and knowledge.
I think what this learning about the science of learning has done has been to have a broader, deeper conversation about what learning looks like in a school. This, I think, is only fully successful if everybody has a working grasp of the principles of the science of learning. And so that's led to a very strategic and systematic manner of professional learning that I think has given an opportunity for full engagement by all teachers, so full buy-in, and that's new.
Obtaining a deeper understanding of the science of learning for all of our teachers has meant that they understand much more about what's happening inside the heads of the learners that they're teaching in their classrooms. And then they get to make decisions about how they're going to maximise every single learning opportunity that's available to them.
The core of the Catalyst program is the children, but in focusing on the children, it's the teachers and the teachers' knowledge. So all of the teachers in our school and other schools have just worked together to build each other up, and in turn we are seeing that impact for the children, and they are just becoming more confident.
The level of confidence from some of these students has improved, and when students achieve at a greater level than what they had previously, that gives them confidence. It improves their self-efficacy and their drive. So yeah, it's been really positive in that regard.
It is a lot of work. It can be time consuming, but the end results that we're seeing for the children, that's what the positive reward is. That's what we're finding from our staff, that they're seeing great results come through.
Our first goal is to ensure that every child is a competent reader. The sooner we can move students from learning to read to reading to learn, more opportunities open up for them. They'll be able to think things that they weren't able to think before because of their reading. So our bold goal of high impact teaching practice visible in every classroom means that we need to lift our expectations that every day, every lesson, every classroom, teachers are providing great cognitive opportunities for their students to continue in their learning.
I love the fact that we're taking this initiative on as a system. I think for the first time we're narrowing that gap. The variance in teaching, I think that's the game changer, because teachers really want to do what's best for the students. Everything we do is focused on student engagement and improvement. However, if we're all doing different things, we don't get that same outcome. So I think to be guided in pedagogy based on evidence, it's just the way forward.
The support has been delivered to our school in so many ways. The support from our performance improvement leaders, the Catalyst team, and the system of the professional learning has been so valued by the staff in our school because it involves everybody. Nobody's left behind.
Teachers who have been part of the High Impact Teaching Practices in Action project have actually found it to be really transformative. Sharing their learning together, rehearsing, implementing, getting feedback about what they're learning around high impact teaching practices, and being coached in the classroom by experienced experts in this area has made an enormous difference to their capacity to do this on a daily basis. So knowing the history of Catholic education and serving the most disadvantaged people in our communities, and knowing the power that comes from working collaboratively, focused on teacher learning across our system, and then embedding everything in the science of learning, well, why wouldn't you want to be part of something like that?
The principal of a school of 30 children has access to the same quality of evidence, the same quality of instructional programs, the same quality of support for their teachers and students that our schools of 2,000 have. And we can only do that through an agreed system approach that recognises the power of the science of learning as the basis for our pedagogical approach. We're a Catholic education system, so we have a vision for the whole child based on our Christian understanding of the human person. We've got great aspirations that a human being's potential is only fully realised through great learning, and that requires great teaching. We want to be a place where that's happening every day in every one of our 1,000 classrooms across our 56 schools.
Give Sophie a hug.